Hi, I'm like a suicidal Christian. What I mean by that is I'm one of those Christians who sees something like that and it's a forum full of atheists who are going to shoot me and tear me to shreds. And I'm making the video anyway, because I'm crazy. Your video is really interesting, and I think you raised quite a few good points. And some of the verses you've used there, I think you've taken a bit out of context. Not many. I think some of them are also interesting and food for thought, and something that I will actually have to look into because they were really interesting points. I would just like to say though that I don't believe that's entirely true. I mean, I don't have answers for everything. I don't think anyone does. I don't think atheists do either. I don't think science has answers for everything. I think sometimes there are areas of Christianity that maybe are more frail and are more vulnerable, and this is definitely a vulnerable issue. But at the same time, it's one that a lot of people then sidetrack and avoid. But as a Christian, I don't think I should avoid it, and so I'm doing this video response to you. I'd like to say that that's not entirely true and that people do get healed. I've seen a lot of your comments on the website, etc., that have been saying that God doesn't do anything. I'd be happy to pray for any one of you. I'm no big shot, I'm just a normal everyday Christian that goes to church on a Sunday. So if any of you are disabled and stuff and you want prayer, and maybe even if you're not disabled, you know, whatever, and you have a need, that'd be cool. But my parents basically couldn't have children. They were told by the doctors. They lost 3 children at birth and were told that they would never have kids. And a woman in my old church prophesied and said to my dad that he'd have a son. And my mum was losing me the same way as the other 3. And basically that church prayed for me, and they spent a whole time praying for me, and God healed my mother, and that's the reason I'm here. So I'm a firm believer that God does do stuff, and that God is willing to do stuff, and he still does stuff today. God's been very good to me. There's just one other story that I wanted to tell you guys. My father went with a charity called African Child Trust, a charity that I'm kind of doing a project for at the moment. And while he was out in Burkina Faso, he met a boy that was fatherless in the village that he went to visit. And the boy basically called my dad Daddy because the boy had no father. And the boy asked my dad when he was coming back, and my dad, who's quite elderly, his late 60s, said to the boy, I'm old and I'm not that well, and I won't be coming back. And the boy then turned to my father and said, you won't. He said, you will. God's told me you'll be coming back. And basically, it was about a month, maybe 2 months after that, that my father had come home from Burkina Faso, and we were going to church on a Sunday evening, and we were at the church. My dad was up in the video room on the balcony, and while he was in there, he had a heart attack, and someone came to me and said, your dad's really ill, you need to come and see him. So I dropped what I was doing, because I was helping set something up, and I ran up to the video room, and I saw him on the floor, put him in the recovery position, and just like a lot of people here have been saying about being frustrated with God, etc., I ran outside the church really frustrated and angry, and I just wanted to curse God. I wanted to have him. I was just so angry. And I remember just praying there, and I was like, whether you take my father or whether you heal my father, either way, I'm still going to love you. It's not. I realised then that it wasn't God that had. Although I wanted to blame him because, of course, like you guys have said, he has the power. It wasn't him that had done that to my father. It wasn't him that had grabbed my dad's heart and just started, you know what I mean? It wasn't like that. And as we went to the hospital, 2 of the guys from African Child Trust came and followed us. My mother and I went in the ambulance, and we got to the hospital, and as we were chatting about all the funny times and the funny stories from Burkina Faso, Keane, he's in charge of African Child Trust, he reminded me, as I said the story of that orphan and was laughing about the cute little kid, oh bless, you know, God speaking to a little kid. He reminded me, well, if God said that, then let's pray into that. And so we took that word of a small child about 5 years old, and we believed that God had spoken through him, and then we prayed about my father's heart attack, and we just claimed it. We said, Father, if this is your word and this is what you've spoken to us for that child, we just pray right now that you would heal Brian as he's with in the emergency ward. And the next day, the doctors done all their scans on my dad's heart, and they checked everything over. And basically, the doctor turned to my father and said these words. He said, we've scanned your heart, we've had a look at your heart, and basically, there is no damage whatsoever in your heart. There is absolutely nothing wrong. We can see what caused the heart attack, but there is nothing wrong with your heart. It's as if you never had a heart attack yesterday. It's just completely perfect. It's fine in every way. And so you see, yeah, I've got that story, but at the same time, on the other hand, I'm not going to just give you just a one side. People suffer. The Bible doesn't say that every single person you pray for will be healed. It doesn't say that. There's nowhere that says that. One of my pastors last year died of cancer, and that was really, really tough. But God does heal, and God is active, and God is there. And so I wanted to pose the other side of things. So please, I know you're all atheists, and I'm just putting it out there. Don't all send me hate mail. I've seen the Christians on here that have sent hate messages to you, and that is disgusting, and I apologise for them. That's not Christ-like. And I hope you have a good day. God bless you. Bye.